make it clap. I got the strap, 21 gats, feel like I'm savage. 21 bitches and none of them average. I'm gon' fuck me tonight, me a bad bitch. I don't give a fuck about niggas, I don't give a fuck about hoes. I don't give a fuck about your bros, I don't give a fuck about your toes, your hoes, your manicure, pedicure toes. I'm coming on the block with the rocks, 20-inch Glocks in my socks. Niggas keep doing that crazy ass shit. If I go to jail, I'ma keep it locked in the sock.
Part 6, what if Izuku parents died? My bad. I'm sorry that this is not the same picture. I had lost the picture because my mom had checked my phone, so had to delete some things, and clear some stuff. So yeah, y'all know. Naruto says Naruto says as he rushes Izuku, yeah, I forgot. Izuku rushes to the restroom. As a matter of fact, I got a better picture. Yeah, because this is what Izuku looked like, I'm pretty sure. Whatchamacallit? So he rushes to the restroom. And, yeah. When he rushes to the restroom,
Sorry, sir. You have the wrong idea.
Izuku says, as he rushes to the restroom, he turns the water on immediately. Throws off his shirt and hits it.
Jeremy Morgan, I'm the owner. And I want to apologize for our waiter's behavior. He had no idea we had such an important guest.
He throws it on the ground.
I'm a huge fan.
He throws it on the ground. And as he throws it on the ground, well, basically, he's about to take his pants off into, I forgot their names. It is what it is. Girls, the one with the horns.
Said you were vegan, right? Sure you want to keep it panda?
Panda? Jeremy Morgan, you're under arrest.
And I'm so pizza when I create
Naruto basically, or Izuku basically turns around. And he says, get out, as he's tries to rush the one with the horns on her head. I forgot her name. It was Emily. It was Emily, Sophia, and think Sophie, or Emily, Sophia, and well, the one that I didn't talk about much. Y'all should know who I'm talking about. But the main one, who I know y'all like the first time, that was Izuku's first time. That's Sophia, I'm pretty sure. Then the second one, I forgot her name, so I'm just calling her Sophie. And then the other one, was Emily, the one with the horns. Emily rushes through the door as as Naruto. I'm pretty sure he has super speed too. Yeah. As Izuku rushes through the door, and he says, Emily says, or no, Sophia is holding Emily, and he says, "Come on, big sis." As Izuku. Sorry, I'm making too many Naruto words. As Izuku says, "No. I'm taking a shower first. Get her the hell out of here." As whatchamacallit hits his head and says, "Be quiet. She's taking a shower first. She's your older sister." As Izuku says, I don't give two fucks. As he takes off he's bluffing. He's about to take off his pants. As she says, fine, she'll take one with. As Izuku goes, Izuku goes red. And yeah, Izuku goes red as he says, damn it, fine. As he said, but make sure she stays on her side. No funny business. And Sophia says, yeah, no funny business. As she blushes. And Naruto says, or Izuku, damn it, it's Izuku. Izuku plunges in the water. It's bubbles in the water too. As Sophia takes off Emily's clothes and puts her in the water. As Izuku closes his eyes. As Izuku looks at Sophia and says, she looks so familiar. I just noticed that. As he starts thinking back, he says, I swear she looks familiar. Sophia and Sophie too. As he starts thinking, as Emily wakes up, and Sophia calms her down because Emily thought Izuku had forced her in the tub with him. But no, otherwise. So yeah. As Izuku says, as he closes his eyes and has a flashback of 3 little girls running to him. One of them saying, Izuku, will you marry me? One of them saying, Izuku, when we get older, promise you want to marry me, okay? He says, yeah, but, he says, yeah, but I'm 5 and you're 7. How's that gonna work? And she says, I don't know, but promise. As 2 little girls says, no, Izuku, come marry me. As Izuku turns a dark red, and another one comes and says, marry me. As she starts jumping up and down, saying, marry me, Izuku. As Izuku promises he'll marry all of them. As Izuku, he didn't know, he was too young at that time. As we time skip, and he says, where are we now? No, we were still in the flashback. He says, promise you'll marry me. As he says, I will, sir. With Sarah. Yes, Sarah. Sophia, Sarah, and Emily. Don't forget I'm mixed names real quick. He says, sure, Sarah, I'll marry you. That's Sophia's. Now, Sophie's is Sophia's is Shosho. Yeah, Sophia's is Shosho. Emily's is M. And Sophie is fuck. I don't know what I should give a nickname. Sophie, Shy. Yeah, Shy. As he looks at Emily, and Emily says, what are you staring at? As she looks away. And he says, Naruto, Izuku. Izuku says, do you remember something? As he says, about your childhood friend. As she looks at him and says, what about it? As he says, fuck, I forgot the name that I gave her. Well, you know what time it is. I didn't want to do this, but I have to. Naruto says, Izuku. Well, I'm saying he called them all Shosho. Yeah, he called them all Shosho, except for Emily. As he says, he called her Sho. Yeah. As he says, do you remember Sho? As she she turns to dark crimson red and starts crying. Mm. As she looks at him and hugs him in the tub, and Izuku hugs her too and says, "I miss you so much." As she says, "Why did you leave us?" As he says, as Izuku says, the only reason I left was because he says, I was getting, pretty sure he was getting, I'm gonna make a story right now of why he left. I forgot. I'm so sorry. He says, when my mom, we had to move to a new country, or when you guys moved, my mom got sick, then she got better, and then after that, I got bullied, and it got pushed to too far extent, so I ran away for a couple years and came back, and then my mom died a week after that. So with my dad. As Izuku says, Emily says, I'm sorry, Izuku. Oh, no. She says, I'm sorry, Zuzu. And she kisses him. And Izuku kisses back. As Izuku says, Izuku, he blushes a little as she picks her up, and he turns the shower on. But at the same time, he's drinking the water from the bath. As he picks her up, where her legs are wrapped around his back, as he's on her butt, as he's kissing her, as they're kissing, and Emily doesn't really care where Izuku touches her now, because because she loves him. Yeah, because she loves him, that's why. There ain't no other good reason. And that's his childhood friend. My bad. Her childhood friend. So Izuku says, wait a minute. Izuku starts killing her. My bad. He starts vibrating his body on accident as he stops it quickly. And he says, sorry, breathing heavily. As she's so close they can feel her breath on him. As she says, why'd you turn on the shower? As she blushes and says, you'll see, I just didn't want any of them to hear your loud moans. As she says, what is that? As Izuku says, may I take your virginity, please? As she says, she blushes like very hard. As she says, as she kisses him and breaks the kiss and says yes. As Izuku says, I'm gonna go slow, okay? As Izuku, never mind. Izuku was just thinking out, and he puts it in her you know. As he puts the tip in, she grunts as he says, if it hurts, I can. As she says no, as she pushes her body close, push that bitch, she pushes her body towards it and to push it in, as it's all the way in, touching her womb. As Naruto says, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, as Naruto says, why would Izuku say that? Emily, I'm sorry, I haven't made this series in a minute. Izuku says, I mean, there we go again. Emily, my bad. Emily says she grunts as tears start falling. As she says, it burns. As he says, I'm gonna take it out. As he tries to pull it out, and she tightens her legs and says, no, just start moving slowly. As he vibrates his body, or not his body, but his lower half of his body, and he starts moving slowly. As he says, it's, as a loud moan comes out. Wait, no, she like moans, like in the middle of her moaning. Izuku kisses her and says, shh, you don't want to get us caught. As she has a blush with, she has a blush on her face, breathing heavily. As Izuku says, as he grabs her waist, no. He still has her hand on her butt, both her cheeks, yeah. He says, now, I would hate, he says, now, he says, do you want to go faster? As she says, yes, please. She says, yes, please, Izuku, or please, Zuzu. As he says, I always have loved that nickname. As she starts thrusting, as Izuku starts blocking her loud moans with kisses, and some of them slip out. And Izuku says, shh, we can't get caught. As he says, okay, unwrap your legs. I'm gonna do it outside. As she doesn't unwrap her legs. As Izuku says, unwrap your legs. As he comes inside of her. As Izuku says, wait, no, he says unwrap your legs. I'm gonna do it outside. If I said inside, I'm sorry. But yeah, he comes inside of her. As as Izuku holds her as she gets on her knees. As she grabs his thing and starts sucking. As she says, as she's walking on that motherfucker, Izuku comes in her mouth after like 12 minutes. Or no, fuck that. After like 17 or my bad, not 17 minutes. After like 4 minutes, because he's sensitive. After like 4 minutes, and Izuku says, "Damn it!" As she shows him that she swallowed everything, and he pats her head. Good girl. As Naruto, as she swallows the rest. As she says, Zuzu. As he says, what is it? As she says, promise you won't do it any other girl but me. As he says, but as she says, promise. As he says, fine. As he says, how about this? Since I'm 18, I'll go get my own place and you can live with me. And we can do it however much you want. Or when you want. Deal? As she jumps on her, she hugs him and the Izuku falls. Like she pushes herself on him. Like she's already on him, but no, she's not already on him. She hugs him and Izuku falls. And he says, calm down. He says, calm down, Shell. As Izuku, she blushes and kisses him. As Emily walks inside and says, is everything or not Emily, my bad. So Sophie walks inside and says, is everything okay? As he says, yeah, I just slipped. She says, I was just getting out though. As she closes the door, blushing from they're just thinking about Izuku. As Izuku says, as he says, as he kisses Emily one more time, and he says, "Now," he says, "Always love your little horns." As he grabs them and squeezes them, as she moans, as she says, "Oh, it looks like these are your soft spot." As she says, stop touching. As Izuku squeezes them harder, and she moans even louder. As he says, shh, shh, shh. As he puts her hand, they're still laying down, by the way, like they're still in the tub laying down. Izuku puts his hand on her ass, and pushes her closer to him. As her titties are on his nipples, or on his chest, should I say? And he says, Izuku says, sorry you're hearing in the background. That's the thing outside. Sorry. Izuku says, he says, as he starts having a makeout session with her, and she says, she stands, she sits up as she puts this thing back inside of her, and he says, after this, Izuku says, I thought I was gonna leave. She said, shh, 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 don't say anything anymore, Suzu. As she starts basically riding Izuku and kissing him at the same time. After he busts a load in her, and he's soft again. Izuku says, we need to get you cleaned up. As Izuku starts eating her out and cleans her out. As never mind, I don't think I said it. But yeah, basically after he cleans her up from eating her out, Izuku says, okay. And she says, he looks at her and says she tastes delicious. And she blushes hard and looks down. She says, it's so sweet. As she blushes even harder. As Izuku walks out the restroom with the towel. And she says, yeah, Sophia says, hey, Izuku, are you? And she turns around to see Izuku walking out with the towel and says, oh, and looks down. Izuku goes to his room to find Sophia sitting there and says, come on, Izuku, let's have sex. As Izuku says, no, I don't want to anymore. Now get the hell out. As she's so like sudden with her moves, where Izuku, Sophia says, why? Well, we did it. As he says, that was an accident. No, please get out. As she says, fine. As she thinks of a plan, as she runs to her room, calls her mom, puts makeup on, and says, Mommy, as she says, what is it? Is everything okay? As she says, Izuku beat and raped me. And then, as she screams, she does like a fake small scream, like only she can hear it. Cause like I said, they got soundproof rooms. Yeah, that's not, like, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, she screams, and she says, Izuku, no, Izuku, as she hangs up, as their mom instantly calls the police to her house, telling that Izuku raped her, and they need to be sent to prison. And her family is like very powerful, like with government. I mean, like a mafia leader power. She has more power than a mafia leader over the government. Can't believe this nigga Pablo Escobar wants to become president. But yeah, Izuku says he hears a lot of footsteps as he walks out the door, or hears a knock on the door as he walks out, opens the door as he plunges down to the ground, and arm cuffs and says, "Is this Izuku Midoriya?" And he says, "Yeah." And he says, "Yes, it is." As he says, "Sophie, help." As she says, "No." As she says, "I thought we were." As she says, "Sophie told me what you did to her. I hate you." No, he says, "Sophia told me what you did to her. I hate you. Take that pathetic scum on my face." As they take Izuku away. They get home, and Mama get home. See that Izuku cuffed, kicks him in his balls. Hallelujah. Ooh, ooh. And that's when Izuku eyes become that color. First they were green, but yeah, now his eyes become that color. As he says, "Fuck you. I didn't even touch your daughter. She pressed herself on me multiple times." As she says, "Yeah, my daughter isn't a slut like you, rapist." As she kicks his balls again as he falls on his knees and he spits blood from his mouth. As he says, "Damn it, that hurt." As Emily runs out the restroom with the robe on and says, "Izuku, what's all that ruckus?" As she says, Sophie says he raped and beat Sophia. As Emily knows this is cap, because in the shower, he says that Izuku told her that he, had sex with Sophia a couple times, like twice, and she was fine with that, just as long as she didn't do it again. As Izuku says, yeah, okay. As that's what this ended. As Izuku says, he says, so Emily runs to Izuku as the mom barges in the door and says, "Girls, are you alright?" And she says, "Where's Sophia?" And she says, I don't know, but where's Izuku?" As he says, you won't be seeing him anymore. He's a rapist and he raped your sister." As Izuku says, Emily knows this is cap. And why the fuck would they put handcuffs on Izuku? I guess plot. That was plot. As Izuku says, these fucking idiots. As Izuku goes super speed, so fucking fast at themselves, he ran right through that bitch. He popped out the braces, the three things. I'm pretty sure I gave him a ring. I'm pretty fucking sure I gave him a ring. But guess fucking what though? If I didn't, he got one now. He clicked that motherfucking button on that ring, and his whole suit pop out that bitch. And his suit is God's no. His suit is basically berries, but zooms. It zooms. It zoom suit. And yeah, so Izuku he runs back to the house. He has blackish blue lightning, by the way. As he sees Emily crying in her room and says, "Zuzu, I know you didn't rape my sister." As Izuku goes in the room with her and says, "Emily." As she looks up and says, "Zuzu," as she jumps on him and kisses him. As he says, "Yeah, I didn't rape your sister." As you know, I told you in the shower. And she says, "Yeah, I believe you." He was kind of the slutty type anyway. As Izuku says, Izuku says, "Oh, okay." As he says, "Well, do you wanna leave this horrible place?" As she says, "But my things are here." As she says, "Don't worry, just tell your mom we're going over to a friend's house. Pack a couple bags, and we'll be gone." She says, "Oh, okay." As she packs a couple bags, Izuku goes to Cali, goes to a field, and he says, "I like this field." As she says, "Well, why?" As he says, "Just stay there." As he makes a house in about 20 minutes. As it has no furniture, but it's, if y'all ever seen Tom Clancy's that movie with Michael B. Jordan in it, the Tom Clancy movie, I forgot what it was called, but that's what. Wait, what the fuck? Why am I? Oh shit! Hey, act like y'all didn't see that shit, bro. Act like y'all didn't see that. Alright, just act, please, cause y'all didn't. Might have to edit that out. I'm really not gonna edit that out. Y'all seen it. It is what it is. Izuku. Izuku. Yeah, so basically, y'all seen that movie with Michael B. Jordan in it. Y'all, that's the house. But it doesn't have all them damn windows. Because anybody can see in that motherfucker. So it don't got all them windows in your bedroom where you can see the forest. And, nah, whatever it was. But yeah, Izuku says, "Do you like it?" And she jumps on him and kisses him and says, "I love it. I love it. I love it." As Izuku has a small blush and he takes off his suit to reveal a shirt, and, or no shirt, and pants. As she says, "What happened to your clothes? What happened to your shirt?" He says, "Oh, and she says, "Never mind. I like this. I like it like this." As Izuku says, as he pushes her closer to his body, as he kisses her passionately. As he says, "I love you." And she says, I love you too, Izuku. And go back to Sophia and Sophie. Sophia brushes through Emily's door to see she's not there and to see a note. "I went to my friend's house. Don't call or text me. I need some time to think about Izuku and to get him off my mind." As Sophia says, "Okay." As she says, she says she believed me too. Nice. Now that bastard's in prison since he didn't wanna. As she sighs and says, and she sighs and says, "Yeah, he should have had sex with me." As Sophia, as Emily, my bad, y'all. Emily says, we get back to Naruto and Emily. As they're in the bed, and Naruto still has no shirt on. He's wearing his underwear. Where Izuku Midoriya. He's just wearing a shirt. Now, Izuku Midoriya. He, let's see, he's trying to fuck. Nah, I'm playing. But yeah, Izuku, he's just wearing some underwear or boxers. Yeah, brief. No, boxer. And Izuku says, so, as he looks at Emily's direction, and he looks at her ass to see she's just wearing panties in one of his shirts. As Izuku wraps his arm around her and pulls her closer to him. As she turns around to feel, or she turns around to see Izuku has no clothes on, but just underwear. As she turns back around and blushes. As Izuku whispers in her ear, "Naughty girl, you looked, didn't you?" As she like looks down and says, "No, I did it." As he make sure nobody lost. Alright, use the information. He presses his cock against her ass as she says, as she moans, or no, she does a soft moan, but it's not like hearable. And Izuku, she says, "You have a boner, don't you?" And she says, "Oh no, I don't." As she says, "What the f?" Then you just, as she grabs a bed sheet, as time skip to the morning, we see a shirtless. We see a shirtless Izuku. I mean, fuck, a shirtless. What's her name? Damn, Emily. Fuck. We see a shirtless Emily, and so yeah. Where's my phone? As we see a shirtless Emily, she gets it from the bed and wraps the cover around herself. As she forgets that she takes out the cover and goes to the restroom. As Izuku groans. She has a loud groan, and he says, "Damn it." As his hair is messy, as he get it right, he zoom inside the restroom using his super speed, No, kind of like I said zoom, so let me shut the fuck up. He gets inside the restroom and he hugs her from behind as she blushes. As she says, "You took all the cover, As she says, "It's okay. You have that suit of yours." As he says, "Yeah, but he says, "Yeah, but that cover is more comfortable. Let me get in under it with you." As she blushes and says, "I don't have any clothes on." And Izuku says, "I don't either. That was a rough night we had last night." As he says, "You're a demon." As she says, as she blushes hard, as Izuku brushes his teeth, that's super speed, and walks out. As he says, "Come on, let's go get some breakfast." As Izuku says, "Come on, let's go get some breakfast." As Izuku still has no clothes on, sees at the walk at the door, and he says, "Oh yeah, I forgot." As he chuckles and goes to his room to see, her. To see, Emily bending over to go reach the lower dresser to get some of her panties. As Izuku smacks her ass, as she moans. As Izuku blushes and says, he says, I didn't think that was gonna happen." As she says, "You idiot, I'm still sensitive from last night." As she hits it on top of his head. As Izuku says, I wonder whose fault that was. As she says, "Yours. You idiot, you blew my back out." As she turns red and she puts her clothes on and runs downstairs quickly. As Izuku says, he says, "No." Sorry, I just said that like 3 fucking times. But Izuku walks downstairs, runs. Wait, he zooms. He zooms downstairs, super speed. Let me shut the fuck up with them jokes. I'm corny as hell. Yeah, but Izuku zooms downstairs with his super speed, and he says, he says, "Come on, let's go." As he grabs a jacket, and he just has some shorts on. He's not wearing any underwear. He just has some shorts and a jacket, or not even a jacket, a sweater. Yeah, and she says, "Come on." As he says, "You need to put a belt on. You're sagging." Or no, she says, "Put a belt on." As she looks at his waist to see he has no underwear on. As he says, no, I think that's gonna hurt my skin. Plus, I have no underwear on. As she looks down to where his cock is supposedly be. As she says, she sees a very large lump. As Izuku says, "Come on, I know you like what you see." As he gets in the car, and I must say, he whipping the Tesla. Yeah. Wait, no. That's not how the song goes. But anyway, he's driving a Tesla. And it's not that new model. The one that recently came out, the robot car with like a fucking robot. No, it's not that. It's the actually no, fuck that. He has a Lamborghini truck. Yeah, he's the Lamborghini truck. Or SUV. Or SUV. Naruto says, or Izuku, my bad. Izuku says, "Alright, baby, get in." As she gets in, and she kisses him, and says, "Where we going?" As Izuku says, "I don't know, maybe to." As time skip, they eat breakfast and come back. As Izuku says, "That was pretty good." As she says, "Yeah, we need to go there more often." As he says, "Yeah." As they're in traffic, as Izuku says, "Oh, traffic, I hate it." And Izuku, after he says, "Oh, traffic, I hate it." He says, he says, "What are you doing? Put your seatbelt back on." As she hops on his lap and says, "No, I want to sit here. Seems more comfortable." As he says, "Whatever." As he starts looking at her thighs. As she says, "Oh, and by the way, she's facing him." He starts looking at her thighs, and she says, "You're looking at my thighs like they're some type of meal." As he says, "Yeah, but you ate a couple meals last night." Yeah, did y'all like that? No, let me shut up. As she blushes. As she says, "Eat more than a meal. He ate a whole buffet." As she turns dark red and says, "Baka." And Izuku, he grips her thighs and she moans silently. She moans softly. As she says, "I told you I'm still sore." Or she says, "I told you I'm still sensitive from last night." As Izuku says, "Oh, I know." As she hits him on top of his head again. And he says, "Ow, it hurt." And she says, "Yeah, I bet it did." As Izuku under his breath says, "It really didn't." As he kisses her, as he hears two horns saying, "Come on, you idiot." As Izuku says, "Oh, we better get moving." As he steps on the pedal and get the driving to the crib. Get to the crib. Izuku, he lays down on his couch as he has nothing but a shirt on. No, my bad. Nothing but his boxers on. As he goes to bed, as Emily says, she jumps on him and says, "No, you can't go to sleep. Let's go do something fun. Come on. You just went to bed." Where he says, "You just woke up. You can't go back to sleep." As he says, "I don't want to do anything fun." As she says, "Please." As he looks at her, she's doing the puppy eyes. She says, "Damn it. Ah, come on." As she jumps up and down, says, "Yay, yay." As he says, he grunts, just to hold back his boner. She tries to hold back his bone. And it's, yeah. So Izuku, he says, "Where are you gonna go?" And she says, just to do, let's do something fun." As Izuku, he chuckles and says, "Okay." As he takes her to a fair or to Six Flags, and he says, "Let's ride that ride." And she says, "Oh, hell no. That's the same ride I puked on. Come on, let's go to that one." And she sees even more dangerous, or no, he sees like a 2-year-old ride. And he says, "Yeah, that one looks fun." As Izuku, he sighs and says, "I guess, come on. You're such a baby." As she, as she, she says, she says, she says, "Yeah, but," he says, "You're such a baby." I was gonna say some cringy, so, but I stopped myself from saying it, which is so good. So good. I said it. Nah, I'm not even gonna say it. Let's get back into the order. They get onto the into the ride, and it's only big enough for one of them. So she sits in Izuku's lap. As actually, no, no, it's big enough for the both of them. They go on, and Izuku says, "Oh, this ride is," as he's trying to fake like it's actually scary. As Miku, not Miku, not Miku, not Miku. No. Yeah, so Miku, I mean, not Miku, damn it. Emily says, Emily says she's actually scared. As Izuku holds her, there's no need to be scared. As he's like, and then he says under his breath, "Why the hell is she scared? It's going 2 miles." He says it's going half a mile per hour. Oh man, as he gets hit inside his head and says, "Shut the hell up, Baka." As he said, he says, "Fine." As they go to another ride. As Izuku says, "Let's ride that one, please." As she says, she says, "Okay, fine. But if I puke, then," as Izuku says, "No, you won't. He'll be right by my side." As he holds her hand, and she blushes, and she says, "Okay." As they go up and up, as they fall down, it's basically a ride at I think it's Six Flags, where it's like that log ride where you go up, come down, then a water splash on you. Yeah, that one. That's the ride that I go on. She says that was actually pretty fun, as she can see her breast through her shirt that she's wearing. As he sees a lot of men staring. As she says, "What the fuck, man?" As he takes his jacket off, or his hoodie off. As she says, "Here, wear this." As she says, "Why?" As he looks at her boobs, and she looks at her titties, and she says, "Oh," and she says, "Yeah, can't be pervy pieces of shit looking at my cake." As she blushes and says, "Your cake?" As he says, "Yeah." She says, "Yeah, dinner, dessert." He says, "Yeah, your breakfast, dessert." Well, he says, your breakfast, dinner, and dessert. But for dessert, I love cake. So, your cake." As she blushes. And Izuku says, "Come on." And Izuku says, "Come on." And she says, "But what about your shirt?" As he said, he like has a 10-pack with side abs. And yeah. Do I care? No, I don't. As she blushes from seeing this. As he says, just come on, as he's walking. As one of the people say, sir, you need to put a shirt on. As he says, he looks at him and says, never mind, sir. As he walks away, he looks at him with his eyes sparkling, or not sparkling. Basically what happened was he ripped his out, put it back in, took him to another dimension, and came back. As he says, never mind. And that's why he said never mind, should I say. As Izuku time skip, they get back home. She takes off her shoes and says, oh man. She undoes her bun. And Izuku still has his shirt off. As she says, the water still hasn't dried up. The hell? That's weird. As Izuku, sorry. Not Izuku. As Emily says, as she takes off her, while she's taking off, while she's taking off the jacket, her arm gets stuck, and she says, Izuku, help me. As he turns around and says, you clumsy little girl. As he chuckles, says, okay. As he takes one of her arms, says, move it here and here. And he moves it there until he finally takes off his hoodie. And she says, I like this hoodie. I think I'll keep it. As Izuku, he says, oh, that was my favorite hoodie. And she says, well, it's mine now, so sorry. As she pecks him on the lips. As Izuku says, wait, your clothes, they're still wet. As he unbuns her shirt. As she says, what are you doing? As she says, well, I can't have you walking around in wet clothes. So as he takes off her shirt and says, come on, let's go get you in the shower. Or he says, come on. I'm sorry. They're not gonna take a shower. I do not feel like doing a scene like that. I was gonna do a sex scene in the shower. They just had one yesterday night. So, how about some cuddling? Yeah, guys. Izuku goes into his bed and he puts on a movie. HBO Max. He puts on or Disney Plus. He puts on Loki. That shit's smack. Izuku says, oh no, he doesn't put on Loki. He puts on, what should he put on? Matter of fact, never mind. He go to HBO Max and put on Godzilla versus, King Kong. Yeah. They watching this and, well, actually, no. Hell no. I'm sorry that I keep changing the movie. Izuku puts on Insidious too. Insidious. Now that shit is scary. I don't even where the first one is. God. Whew. Man, I ain't sleep with that motherfucker, boy. Izuku says, as he looks at his, he looks at the TV and says, to see that he looks at Emily to see that she's scared as he zooms behind her and he says he makes a creak as she turns around and says Izuku as he makes another creak and she turns around to see a dark figure as he says, I've come to get you and kill you, as she screams. And Izuku, he says, just joking, it's me, as he sits upside the head 12 times. And then she punches him in the face, leaving a small bruise on his cheek. as he says, ouch, that hurt. As he says, that one really hurt. As she says, I hate you. And Izuku says, yeah, but I love you. And she blushes. And he says, alright, I promise I won't do it anymore. As Izuku says, he looks at Izuku with a playful face and says, lay your ass down. As he lays down and cuddles her. As he has her arm, her legs, he has his legs wrapped around her legs. And his arms are wrapped around her back. And her head is in his shoulder. Or in his chest. Yeah, in his chest. And Izuku says, God damn, you're gorgeous. As he laughs, goes to sleep. Now, let's get back to Sophia and them. It'll be, I feel like I'm recording more than 55 minutes. I ain't gonna front with y'all. But yeah, Sophia says, she says, Emily hasn't been back for 3 days. She says, I'm gonna go check on her. As she goes to her friend's house to see that she is not even there. As they start scourging, Sophia runs home to tell her mother and say that Emily isn't there. As Emily's now missing. It's been a week, been 2 weeks, been 3 weeks. It's been down there a month. As Emily has been having so much fun with Izuku and so much sex with Izuku, she doesn't want to leave. As he says, where could she possibly go? As she said, I don't know. As they all fall into depression. Besides Sophia. She's kinda sad. Or no, they didn't fall into depression. They all had a funeral for Emily. Because she's supposedly dead now. As they all say, Izuku Midoriya. What about him? As they all look at the preacher and says, did you ever try finding him? As they all widen their eyes and says, he kidnapped her. He's probably kidnapping her. He probably kidnapped her. As she says, yeah, you're right. Who knows what he's doing to her right now? As 3 weeks they searched the entire state, and they come to California, searching over there. No. They found a strange little house that's by the forest, inside the forest, next to a beautiful lake, and it's very, very nice. But this house has no it has no, I don't know what to call it, like you can't, if you was to track people, you can track the house there. As he says, there, that's the house. As they, 2 weeks later, they plan their attack. He gets to the house, break in. SWAT buzz down the door as Izuku and Emily are in the middle of a session. As she's pouncing, she's going up and down at him, and from around the moans, they can really hear that the door burst open. As Izuku comes in her, and he says, I love you. And she says, I love you too. And she cuddles under him. No. As she starts sucking him down. And he's in a position where he can get the licking. and she's in a position where she's sucking. Like basically her feet is by his head, and her head is by his Izuku's feet. So yeah. As the FBI run up the stairs and they hear noises in the one room. As they say, here it is, 3, 2, 1, boom! As they kick down the door, and Izuku says, "What the fuck?" As he says, as we see SWAT aiming guns at Izuku, or aiming guns at both of them. As they say, "Stop aiming her now!" As they say, Mrs. Emily, I'm sorry. As they wrap a cover around her, and basically she didn't get to talk. They didn't let her talk. So they took Izuku. Yeah, so basically after they had their guns aimed at Izuku, he says, "What's going on?" As he says, "You know what's going on. Kidnapped and raped Mrs. Emily." As they start shooting at Izuku, as Izuku instantly puts his super speed on, but one bullet got to his leg, or one bullet got to his shoulder, not his leg, because he's not gonna be able to run if he got to a leg. So one bullet got to his leg, and he says, "Damn it," as he's hurt, and he says, "It's not what you think. I didn't." Emily, as he goes and basically he like runs away after he says it's not what you think, and he says, I will get Emily back." And that's how I'm gonna be ending this episode.